Hello and welcome to Project Hope, Adopt a Pet, the show about pets and for pets. On behalf of Project Hope No Kill Humane Society, I'm Darlene Pickford.
And I'm Greg Bauer. And we'd like to tell you about a future show that's coming up to stay tuned for. We're going to do a show on the Katrina rescue effort with animals. Well, Darlene, we've got a real interesting show today. It's our Christmas show, and we have some special guests. What are we going to do today, Darlene?
Well, we're going to take you to Parkview Nursinghome, and we're going to see the angels there, some of which have 4 paws. In other words, Greg, we're going to be visiting with the people at Parkview and finding more about their resident and visiting animals. Why don't you introduce our guests,
I was going to say, let's get started. On the end down here, we have Mr. Bill Boyd, who is Executive Director of Parkview Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, and his very, very capable assistant, Miss Peggy Free, who is Director of Environmental Services there. And welcome to both of you.
So glad you're here.
And you probably will notice in between there is Bill's dog, Lady. We'll hear more about Lady a little later.
She's a little shy this morning.
Well, Bill, let's start first of all by asking what is the history of pets at Parkview?
Oh, approximately 1999, the previous administrator, Marilyn Ingram, she went through some training and certification on the Eden Alternative. It was a program that was research set up by Dr. William Thomas. He's a gerontologist from upstate New York, and some of his research showed the benefits of more of a home-like environment in a nursing home as opposed to a clinical setting. So, and pets were a big part of that.
Okay. Peggy, you kind of are in charge of the animals, I think, at this point. What kinds of responsibilities do you find in caring for some of the resident pets?
Well, I feed them, clean up after them, take them to the vet, you know, make sure that they get to visit the residents that they want to be with. And
How many animals do you currently have? Tell us about them.
we have Lady,
Okay.
Floor, and we have Pandy and Barney.
Now, and Pandy's a cat.
Pandy's a cat, and we have Jack and Charlie. They're our birds that live with 2 of our residents. And what else do we have?
We've got a gecko. That doesn't get out very often if we can help it.
Emily.
Plenty of fish.
Right. So these animals are consistent with the Eden Alternative in trying to give a more home-like environment to the residents.
Right.
Summarize, what do you think the value is for the residents that you've seen now that you've enacted this program at Parkview?
Right. Some of the studies have shown that it's supposed to reduce stress, give the residents a sense of ownership, but it's very comforting to them. It stimulates their memory. I mean, you can see that a resident who might not have any expression for years, you bring a pet into contact with them, they could smile. Want to hold a pet, want to just pet them. It just stimulates memories. When the Eden Alternative was first set up at Parkview, we had many animals. Well,
really?
I'll say there was some rabbits and guinea pigs and hamsters. That got to be a little overwhelming.
Okay.
That got to take it's. I don't know if it took care away from the residents, but it became it took a little more effort than was necessary. So there's a fine balance between too many pets and not enough.
Okay.
And as we understand, Bill, not all of the animals that we've been mentioning here are actually residents of the home. What sort of thing have you done with the employees in bringing their particular pets to the home?
We encourage employees to bring their pets. Our therapy department they'll bring 3 or 4 dogs occasionally, and with the residents that they serve, it gives the residents something to do while they're in therapy. I mean, you can see that their eyes light up. It gives them a sense of ownership, and it just brightens their day. The rest of the pets, there's other staff members. I know Peggy's dog Brandy comes almost every day. Jack, who we talked about, is a certified therapy dog. He's at work maybe 3 to 4 times a week.
Wow.
Visitors, family members bring their pets. We've never had any problems with them.
That's wonderful.
Thank goodness.
For our viewers, tell us, what do you mean by a therapy pet?
He's gone through training or certification, and that he is, he works with residents. I mean, he'll sit with residents so that they can touch him, pet him, just make sure that he has the right attitude
And the right temperament.
and the right temperament, right, to deal with residents.
So not every animal or every pet would be a candidate for a therapy.
No, and not every pet or animal would be suitable for the home also. You got to have their
But
temperament
there-
is crucial.
That many animals that do visit who haven't been through this training but still have the right temperament to be in your environment.
Oh yes.
Right. Well, speaking of the environment and the value, why don't we see what one resident, Miss Carolyn Wood, has to say about the value of our angels that have 4 paws.
The animals are the best therapy that you can have for these older people, even these younger people, because when a cat loves you or a dog loves you, they love you regardless. You can mistreat them, but they still love you. And that's the way that they do to these people. They'll come up and you can rub them. They're all tame, they're all sweet, and they're such good therapy. They're
Really?
just marvelous therapy for these people.
We'd like to thank Miss Carolyn for that wonderful story and how animals have helped her there at the nursing home. So, Darlene, let's talk a little bit about some kitties that they have at the home.
Yeah, Miss Carolyn was talking about Pandy there. So, Peggy, tell us a little more about Pandy and the other cats that are presently there or have been at the nursing home. Tell us first more about Pandy.
About Pandy, she's a very loving cat. The residents have always loved her. She has in particular a resident now that she, lives with on wing 2.
Uh-huh.
But she's been around the facility, and the residents, they love her.
Yeah, I know, and she loves for you to lay on her back,
On
and
her
she'll
back
just
and rub her neck.
rub her neck, and she's just as happy as she can be. Okay, now I understand you've had another cat there called Jimmy.
Jimmy. He
Tell me about
came,
Jimmy.
to our facility, and before he was weaned, and I fed him with a baby bottle till he got big enough where he could go
Oh, my
around
word.
the facility and visit with the residents. And he was a very loving cat,
Uh-huh.
very loving cat, and all the residents just loved him. And
And,
in fact, one of our residents named him.
oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I understand that you there's another cat, Tiger, that
Mm-hmm.
has been at your facility.
Said he came to the door.
Uh-huh.
And somebody let him in. He lived there, and the residents gathered around him in the lobby to see what he was, what kind of cat he was. They named him Tiger, and he's lived there.
Oh my word! Well, can you tell us how do you adapt the cats to the environment? Has it been a problem, or
No.
do you go through a procedure,
So,
or
lots of times we just get the residents together and the staff, and we show them the animal and what kind of disposition they have, and lots of the times it's up to the resident, if they're gonna like that animal or not. And we've not had a problem. They've liked all of them that we've had.
that's just wonderful. Well, let's now transition to a happy tale about Pandy, the resident cat at Parkview Nursinghome. Hello, my name is Pandy. I've been here at Parkview for 2 years, and I really love it. Even though I spend most of my time inside, I love to lie on my back to sun myself in the outdoor courtyard. When inside, I nap on the beds of my nursing home friends who really like to have me around. At night, Miss Ida lets me sleep in a comfy cubbyhole in her closet. Not a bad life for a 10-year-old kitty. Thanks, Parkview, for giving me such love and attention.
We hope you enjoyed that wonderful tale about Pandy, and fortunately she has a home there at the nursing home. But we have a lot of other pets at Project Hope that don't have homes, and we would really like our viewers to consider visiting over there. We also, as everybody says now, need contributions, and you can make a contribution, which is tax deductible, to Project Hope. You can send it to us at P.O. Box 125 in Metropolis, 62927.
62920.
Oh, thank you, Darlene.
You're welcome, Greg.
Or you can bring it by the shelter at 1698 West 10th Street in Metropolis. And hopefully we could make a Merry Christmas for some of the pets that we have there. Plenty of dogs and cats. Darlene,
Well,
where do we
but
go from
Greg,
here?
before we continue, if you're considering adopting an animal for Christmas, please make sure that it's a well thought out decision. Rather than putting a dog or a cat under the Christmas tree with a bow, why not put a picture or a coupon and then really put time and effort into the decision, and then come by Project Hope and our director would help you select the appropriate animal for you. But please make it a very, very well thought out solution, Christmas gift for someone.
Many times a new animal under the tree becomes very scared with all of the chaos and everything around the Christmas tree and so on.
And they're very cute.
Yes.
And a month later, they're a bigger responsibility. As Peggy was telling us, somebody has to feed the animal, take care of it, and take it to the vet. So just use a lot of good
Common sense.
Good word, Greg, in choosing the pet. So, okay, we're talking with Bill Boyd and Peggy Free from Parkview Nursinghome, and we've been talking about the resident cats there, and now we're going to talk about the resident dogs there. Tell us now more about Barney.
About Barney?
Mm-hmm.
Barney's a Boston Terrier, and he's about 8 or 9 years old, and he's very smart.
Oh, he is?
Yes, he is. He does all kinds of tricks, and he's been taught to do that. And he's just a loving animal, with the residents. He's a friend to the staff, he's a friend to the residents, and he's just a good dog.
Yeah, I know when we were there, he visits with everybody.
Yes, he does.
And if you call him, he comes right to you. And well, tell us, Bill, about Lady.
Lady is the newest addition to Parkview. She's a 4-year-old Cocker Spaniel. She came to us, there was a couple in town who had raised Lady since she was a puppy, and something happened and they weren't unable to care for her. So they called me up one day and asked if I'd be willing. They heard that we were very pet friendly, asked if we'd be willing to care for her, and she'd be a good addition to our nursing home. So one day they dropped her by to see how she'd do overnight. She did wonderfully. The next day he said, well, how'd she do? I told her what a wonderful job she did, and I said, well, she's yours if you want her. So we adopted her, and she's become a fixture there, but she has become very attached to me for some reason, and she comes home with me most every night.
Oh, really?
Some of the other staff have taken her home for a couple nights. She hasn't been overnight at the nursing home yet. She gets a little timid by herself. She gets a little nervous, but she has a great personality, friendly dog, loves to bark at people with hats for some odd reason. But everybody else she's very friendly with, and she visits most of the residents. She's a great eater. If anybody's got food near them, she'll be their best friend.
And I'm sorry, our viewers could see that Pandy's the same way if there's food around.
Pandy's a wonderful eater also.
Oh, yes, that's very evident.
Well, Peggy, you have a very special animal. Brandy, tell us about your dog.
Yes, I do. Brandy is a Cocker Spaniel mixed, and I adopted her to Humane Society when she was
Project Hope.
10 months old, and she'll be 5 years old in January, and she comes to work with him most every day and visits with the residents. All the residents know her by name. If she's not there, they want to know why. Why she stayed at home, and she just loves all of them. She loves Parkview. She loves being there with them.
And so she comes, when you go to work, she comes with you and stays all day and then goes home with you.
A good example of when the employees are bringing their own pets.
Okay. Well, I understand there was a special pet named Valentine.
Yes.
Tell me about Valentine.
Valentine was a little beagle, 13-inch beagle, and the UPS driver came to the door to deliver, and she was sitting at the door, and he thought that she belonged there, so he let her in, and the residents gathered around her, you know, as they always do when they see an animal, and it was on Valentine's Day, so they picked a name out for her, and, you know, wanted her to stay there and named her Valentine.
Oh, well, now I'm going to ask this question about dogs. Who does the housebreaking? For all when the dogs are there, who does the housebreaking if you raise an animal there?
But different ones, I will a lot.
Okay.
But, you know, different ones.
Okay, because I have a dog, but that has been something that I've had to learn over, over time. I now know more how to do that, but when I first started out, housebreaking an animal was a real chore for me. It was something that either I didn't have I didn't have Lisa to help me at that time. So if you saw our show earlier about pet behavior, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
If I could just address that quickly.
Yes.
In a large building, it can be very difficult to house train an animal
Yes.
in that large building. You know, in a home setting, you've got a smaller area where you can concentrate on where you'd like to train them to go. So we prefer that they're housebroken before they get there. And
Before they get there, that's a good point, because you have a big open area in the middle there, and that's quite, like you say, it's a big area, and then you have quite a few wings. So. I can see that would be. So my hat's off to you when you raised that little animal and did everything for it. So,
Well, now, Bill, we know that your residents and we've been talking about how they gather around animals and name them and things like that. But I'm sure there's probably some residents who are not quite as fond of animals. How do you handle that situation?
There are some who don't care for animals. The animals can sense that, that's all I can say, and the animals stay away from those residents. And if the resident, if an animal gets near a resident who they prefer them not to be by the animal, they'll shoo them away. And the animals, they can sense who they're friends with and who they're not friends with at that point. So there's no real issue with the animals bothering people or annoying people that they shouldn't.
And you had mentioned before we came on the show that when you're showing people through the facility, that you explained. Would you talk to that for a moment, please?
Right, sure. Before anybody is admitted to the building, whether it be the initial tour or just the initial consultation about nursing home placement, we make sure they know that we are a pet-friendly building and that we do have animals that stay overnight, cats and dogs and fish and birds and a lizard. So we want to make sure that up front before anybody makes a decision to choose Parkview.
Okay. Well, speaking of one resident animal, we now want to give you a happy tale about Barney, who is a resident dog. In fact, he is one of the angels with 4 paws at Parkview.
Hi, my name is Barney, and I'm a 7-year-old Boston Terrier mix. 5 years ago, I came to live at Parkview and immediately fell in love with many of the residents. They liked to scratch my head between my ears, and I really, really enjoy that. I like to do tricks for them, and they tell me my favorite trick is when I roll over and play dead. They know I'm just kidding, though. I really want to thank Parkview for all my wonderful friends and my happy life here. Hello and welcome back to Project Hope Adopt a Pet and our Christmas show today with our guests Bill Boyd and Peggy Free. I hope that you enjoyed the little happy tale that you just viewed about Barney, and would like to reemphasize again the need that we have at Project Hope for adoption of animals and also possibly for some financial contributions, but you never hear that at Christmas, do you? Peggy, tell us about Murphy, who is another one of our resident animals.
So Murphy is a Yorkshire Terrier, is that how you? And she was a nurse that we had working there. She's her little dog, and she came every day to work with her and visited with the residents and played with our maintenance men and was all over the building doing different deeds and tales. And
Yeah, I
playing with the
remember
residents.
Murphy when you called her and she came running all the way across the room, and she didn't even know me, but she was a cutie. I
She
could have picked.
loved the cats.
Does she?
Yes.
Which
the
is an
cats.
interesting question. How do you help the cats and dogs get along? How is that a problem, or do you manage it?
No.
So that it hadn't been a
I
problem.
said every cat that we've had, the dogs have got along with them well.
Well, that's wonderful. Maybe they just know they have enough space and there's enough love and attention to go around, right? Okay.
And the cat-dog interaction was typically pretty entertaining to the residents because, I mean, especially Murphy. Murphy would just get a running start across the lobby and jump on the cat, and the cat would turn around and start playing with him. And the residents would just laugh out loud watching those two play. And they wouldn't play for hours by any means, but they'd play for plenty of opportunity for the residents to get their fill.
You know, there's nothing more entertaining and helps you forget your problems than to watch a kitten play. You know, and all it takes is a little pencil or a paper clip. Doesn't take a lot of stuff, and they're just the happiest thing. And you can't feel sad anytime or at Christmas when you watch a kitten or a puppy play, right? Listen, we were also talking about Valentine, and Valentine had a special relationship with certain of your clients. Tell us about that.
She had a real special relationship with one of our residents, and she was, this makes me sad when I tell about it.
Okay.
She went to her room and she was dying, and she stayed in her bed with her the whole time and grieved with her the whole time that she was dying.
You know, I have read stories from nursing homes where cats, we call it, were in the room when a patient or client was dying, but I had not heard about a dog. I think that's wonderful, and that really goes to kind of explain the relationship and value that a companion animal can have with your client.
And that's the way that resident wanted it too.
Oh, I just think that's
Yes.
wonderful, and to have gone out of your way to make sure that your residents have access to this source of care and attention, I just think is wonderful. So
I think what happens many times is that people are not really aware of how sensitive animals are to your feelings and to the situations that you're in. They understand a lot more than what you think they do.
absolutely. Well, we certainly see how Parkview has had in the past and present animals to help with the home environment. Bill, what advice would you give to a similar institution that wanted to maybe become a pet-friendly environment?
I'm a very pet-friendly advocate. I mean, I think it just adds so much more to a nursing home environment, makes it very home-like.
Okay.
But obviously everybody is not a pet advocate.
That's right.
I would make sure that your staff has to buy in. I mean, your staff is a big part of it.
Yeah.
The residents will be the ones who get to enjoy the pets, but your staff has to be the one who take care of them and can kind of promote that situation and that environment. So make sure you have staff buy-in is the number one component, I believe. The sanitation issues, I mean, those are very minor, as far as breaking in pets and whatnot. We've addressed that already. That's very minor. But staff buy-in, making sure that they promote the pets in the facility also. We've got to make sure when it's time for meals that the pets don't interfere with people's trays.
Exactly.
And sometimes we'll put the dogs outside, and the cats don't bother anybody. So it's more keeping the dogs away from, they get hungry and and want a handout. So we got to make sure that that's addressed. So just again, staff buy-in is the number one key, and the right temperament animal also. We were talking about Valentine before. Valentine was a beagle. In the last year, we've had 2 other beagle puppies in the facility. Wonderful animals. In my experience so far, the beagle was the best animal for the building. The 2 we had that are no longer there were puppies that were adopted out of the building.
Oh, okay.
So they were just wonderful pets. They weren't by our choice that they were adopted out, but they were such wonderful animals that somebody wanted them at home.
I see. Bill, if there's someone listening that would like to perhaps get more information from you, would you be willing to assist them?
Oh, sure. They can call us at Parkview, talk to Peggy or myself at 443-6543. and we'd be happy to help out, give any advice we could. Again, I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful environment to have pets in the building.
That's great. Well, Peggy, since you're Director of Environmental Services, what advice would you give to another institution in making, if they decided to become pet friendly? What advice would you give to them?
Well, the most important thing to me is getting the right animal for your facility and that resident and the staff.
Okay.
You know, making sure you get that right animal. And it makes the biggest difference in the whole world.
Which, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, it's not a decision to be entered into lightly.
No.
No.
No. And if anyone here is listening and is interested in becoming a pet-friendly environment, Project Hope No Kill Humane Society in Metropolis has over 50 cats and 50 dogs. And our director knows every one of these animals. And so our director could help you select the cat with the right temperament, the dog with the right temperament. You might be interested in an animal that maybe is 2 years old as opposed to a kitten. So there, or whatever kind of animal that you might think would be integrated into your establishment. So please think of Project Hope No Kill Humane Society if you are going to select an animal like for your nursing home environment or for your own environment. Greg, tell us again where we can, during this Christmas season, remember Project Hope with donations.
Project Hope Humane Society at P.O. Box 125, Metropolis, Illinois, 62960. I got it that time. Or the shelter is located at 1698 West 10th Street in Metropolis. Their telephone number is 618-524-8939. And I think that you need to think very carefully about a pet that you may be interested in adopting, and you need to determine just exactly how it's going to fit into your situation.
We would like to thank our guests, Bill Boyd and Peggy Free, for bringing us all this information about their pets. And we'd like to leave you with our special music and special visuals of the angels, some of which have 4 paws at Parkview.
From Darlene and I, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you.